I'm John Ford from radio station KAOS 89.3 FM here in Olympia. I've been a jazz host here for over 20 years. My friend here, and that's who we're here to talk to and about today, well, actually, partially about, is Mr. Fred Kellogg, who has hosted Free Jazz with Fred for some 16 years now on Chaos, handling avant garde and experimental and free jazz. And we're here to talk about the 21st Annual Experimental Music Festival, which is happening June 26th. I have to read the notes for that one, I won't lie. At the Eagles Club Grand Ballroom, June 27th and 28th at La Voyeur in downtown Olympia. CAF's been a media sponsor since 1995 just because it's what we do. For Chaos since 1973, we've pretty much brought you any genre we possibly can. And we know the value of experiments in music, not just jazz by any stretch of the imagination. We've had stuff here that baffled us, delighted us, baffled and delighted us, and baffled and didn't delight others, but that's how it works in the real world. Now, Fred, this is your second year curating this festival.
Mm-hmm. I did it 2 years ago because festival founder L. Jim McAdams, also known by his radio name, probably better known by his radio name, Ricardo Wang, a longtime Chaos programmer. He's now at KPSU in Portland. He's taken taking some more time with his family, and he wanted someone to take over, and I said yes. And he basically wanted me, and I wanted, so here I am doing it.
Well, I mean, why not? Since that first festival back in '95, Olympia's kind of developed into its own cultural mecca. And I know that phrase gets used about to death, but I think we can actually lay claim to it comfortably here.
Yeah, I'd say it has. I mean, I know there's several underground record labels here. There's Olympia Jazz Central, which has developed the jazz scene here in town over tremendous development over the past 6 years. And we also have several theater groups. And I might point out that Chaos, our diverse programming, is one example of that cultural mix too.
And if you're not sure about that, you can sneak over to chaosradio.org and look at our schedule. Then you can make up your own mind. By the way, for those of you who do listen online, Fred's on Monday nights at 9 p.m. here at Chaos Radio. Now, you might say, why is alternative music important? Well, I'll speak for myself first and a little bit about jazz in general, even though the festival is so much more than that. All jazz to some extent is experimental. We were talking earlier about 1959. In the same year, Time Out, Dave Brubeck, Kinda Blue, Miles Davis, totally different albums, and Ornette Coleman making the huge splash that I think easily half the jazz world didn't know what to do with.
Mm-hmm.
But the other half was happy, and it's about opening doors. Opening doors creates infinite possibilities. Every time someone tries something that hasn't been tried before, that's an experiment. They don't call it experimental necessarily, but it is. But then, Fred, you were talking about the great avant-garde pianist Cecil Taylor. Share that with our friends on the other side of the screen.
Yes, as I've shared it many times on my show, because I think it what defines avant-garde jazz and really defines any kind of experimental music. Because as Cecil said back in 1965, if a person plays for a certain amount of time, scales, licks, or what have you, then a certain amount of order begins to assert itself. And it's just a question then of recognizing different ideas and expressions of order. And certainly the Olympia Experimental Music Festival provides an opportunity for performers of all genres. They may be rock, or they may be jazz, or they may be electronica, or they may be something else. But the point is, they're not getting that order unless they are given the opportunity to experiment with it and perform before a live audience. And our festival has been giving performers like that an opportunity to do that for 22 years now.
Now, this year will be 17 acts of different genres. I know we've got Samantha Boschneck, Seattle trumpeter, coming in, Hand of Reason. Electronic sectionals from Aram Shelton, aka Tono Masher. Not many guys can make a good anagram out of their name. That's kind of cool.
Oh, yes.
And then old friends of the festival, including Big Tom Lithuanian, Not Pine Box, and the Dead Air Fresheners.
Yep, which includes Jim McAdams, or excuse me, Ricardo Wang.
Yes. And for those Chaos nostalgists out there, his show was called No Skinny Ties. Now, you've also got a Seattle duo that's coming in that you're very happy about.
Yes, Bad Luck. They are avant-garde jazz, electronic music duo. They kind of combine both worlds there. Saxophonist Neil Welch and drummer Chris Acasiano. They record for Table and Chairs Records. I've heard them many times at the Cafe Racer sessions up in Seattle, and I recruited them on the recommendation of Simon Henneman, who's a member of the Watt Trio, and they'll also be performing this year.
Basically, we're talking a diverse group of programmers and performers whose most important category is their own. That's a nice thing all by itself. Which brings us to why we're here on Indiegogo. You were probably wondering about things like, are they going to get to it? Are they going to get to the money?
Are they going to get to the money?
Thank you for getting to that, Fred. We have a fundraising goal, the largest ever, of $2,000. Yeah, I know, huge amount of money. But the festival does a lot with a little. It's super volunteer powered. But the idea being that these performers, whether from around the block or from around the Bay Area, are coming here on their own dime. We'd like to defray that cost a little bit. Some accommodations, maybe a meal, some gas money, something. Because starving artist is interesting as a metaphor, but it's a lousy way to live. And if you're going to travel that far to perform your art, if we can do them a solid, that's a good thing. But we can't do it without you.
And as John mentioned, or actually I'll mention it, that I've not really guaranteed anyone any specific amount, but I really want to do everything possible to have every performer go home with at least $25 in their pocket, or
Little
something in that
something.
range. At least to pay for their meals and gas.
Now, let's be clear, you probably are wondering about local business, and they do help. Matter of fact, we'd be nowhere without our local businesses, for a fact. And we don't have any major sponsors, though, because we want to maintain the autonomy of the festival. That's very important.
Yeah, we want to keep it local. It's a community festival. We don't want big names.
Keeping it independent.
Yes.
Again, that's where you come in. Your support at any level keeps the fest independent. Now, maybe you're a friend of one of the performers. Talk about that for a minute, Fred.
Well, maybe you've seen one of them on my show, or maybe you've seen their videos. A number of these people have very good videos on YouTube, and they certainly could use your support. We have the typical expenses that will be incurred with an event such as this, such as facilities, but no volunteer here. I mean, that's what we are. We're volunteers. We're not getting paid to do this. The money's for the performers.
So, consider it. Look it up on Facebook. That's tinyurl.com/OliEXPFest21. Should be live by the time you see this video. And if you can contribute, great. If you can't, that's possible. But spread the word. Use whatever media or medium you have.
And if you happen to be in town that weekend, again, it's June 26th at the Eagles Club Grand Ballroom, June 27th and 28th at Lavoyer in downtown Olympia. Stop by and pay us a visit.
Because remember, they need an audience, which is also where you come in. And like I say, if you can invest, I recommend it highly because it sounds different when you've got a piece of the action. It's nice to know you've helped make something happen. It's entirely possible you yourself may be an independent experimental music artist someday, or maybe in 10 minutes. I don't know. But I do know that festivals like this are important, and that's why Chaos is proud to work with them on it, and that's why we're bringing it to you today for your support through Indiegogo. There should be some garishly large button and some dollar amounts somewhere near this video you're watching. Take a look, see what fits for you, do what you can, and for all of us here in Olympia, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you at the festival. And again, Fred, thanks for doing this, man. This is a good thing you're doing.
My pleasure.